steel and glass, that is the modern side, and then the very top looks like the Parthenon in Greece, right? That is postmodernism for you, and just an example of really how beautiful a building can be in Chicago. And then right next to it, we got 55 West Wacker, which is an example of brutalism in Chicago. Now, brutalism is an interesting style, because with that style, you're not necessarily trying to make your building look good, you're trying to send a message with brutalism. Now, the commonly held belief on brutalist buildings is that brutalist buildings are always meant to look ugly. That is not the case. Brutalism started in Russia in the 40s and 50s, and there it was really just meant to send a message. Then in the 60s and 70s, the United States adopted brutalism for their heavily restricted government buildings, like FBI bases and NASA bases, like top secret stuff. So a lot of people think the word brutalism comes from the English word brutal. It doesn't. It comes from the French word brute, which means raw concrete, because most brutalist style buildings are made of raw concrete. That's the bridge on the right-hand side. I'm sure this building has caught your eye. Now you're going to see a brick building in giant white letters that says Morton's The Steakhouse. Look past that one. You're going to see a green terracotta clad tower, and at the very top, shining in the sun. Oh, I almost said shining in the sun. It's not very sunny. But that is real 24 karat gold plating cladding the outside of the carbide and carbon building. Now that is not leaf, it is plating. It's real gold. Now that building looks that way for what I think is a pretty funny reason. That building was built in 1929 in the middle of the Prohibition by the Burnham brothers, sons of Daniel Burnham. Now the Burnham brothers, being Chicagoans, weren't big fans of that Prohibition, the outlawing of alcohol, so what did they make their building look like as a protest? Big old bottle of alcohol, yeah, a bottle of champagne with the green and the gold at the very top. Coming up from underneath the bridge, right next to us, you can see it right now, there's a tall, skinny, white tower called the Mather Tower. The Mather Tower was first built in 1928, and that building was first completed. It was the tallest building in the world. For 2 weeks, they got usurped. Also, the top 3 floors of the Mather Tower, a few years back, they began to crack and degrade. Instead of fixing them on site, they detached them, flew them to a new location, fixed them there, then flew them back in using a helicopter, and attached them to the very top of the building. Now, almost right next to us, we have another older limestone-clad building called the London Guarantee and Accident Building, designed by Alfred Altschuler in 1922. It is the same architectural style that I talked about first on Greatly, French Beaux Arts. It's got an ornate bottom, stacked plank floors, ornate top. Talking about the ornate top on this one, as I keep moving forward, you're going to start seeing a little structure at the very top of this building. It looks like a little temple. That is called a tempietto. There it is. And guess what that means in Italian? Tempietto. Little temple. And if you have a sweetheart you want to get engaged to, you can go up there. For $3,500, that's how much it costs to do that, but they give you a lock for that, give you a nice little kneeling place, they pop a fancy bottle of champagne, and that's it, that's all they do. Main word of advice, if you decide to go up there to propose, make sure that person you're asking is going to say yes. So you're going to swing by first the elevator, I don't know. Swing it over to the left, pointing. You're going to see a limestone-clad building with very distinct church-like ornamentation at the top. I mentioned this one. This is the more classic version of 311 South Wacker. This is the Tribune Tower. Now, this building was the result of a 1922 contest hosted by the Tribune newspaper. The contest was to design the world's most beautiful office building. Howells and Hood won the contest with the Neo-Gothic design. Neo-Gothic, that is the modern architecture of the day and age, the 1920s, like the Art Deco style, mixing with Gothic architecture meant to be mirroring the European Gothic cathedrals such as Notre Dame in Paris, with flying buttresses and cathedral-like ornamentation at the top and on the bottom. Swing it back to the right. You're going to see 2 brown brick buildings. Both those buildings make up the largest hotel in Chicago, the Hyatt Regency. It's also the largest Hyatt hotel.